All right, everyone. Hello and welcome to the press conference for the 2024 Open at Austin. We'd like to welcome Jeff Spring into the presser. Jeff, I want to ask you how the tour determines whether or not the event, like how did you determine that the event last year was worthy of another shot to host at the same venue with the same club in 2024?
Yeah, we have a pretty standard event evaluation process. It's informed by player evaluation and feedback, as well as staff evaluation and feedback. Most events go through that process. We give feedback and notes on what needs to change, or if there's a requirement or not, and just try to involve all the stakeholders and get their feedback into that process.
Cool. My next question is about the course changes this year. How much was the tour involved with all the hole changes and the new fairways built in the woods, or do you kind of leave that up to the club?
Well, we actually have a unique relationship here where this event is in a transition year. Neil and Jim, the co-TDs and owners of the Open, have run this actually across Texas and most recently in Belton. They moved to Austin the same year we were looking to establish an event in Austin. And so, next year, we're going to be, owning and operating the event fully. And Jim and Neil will be involved. We don't know the exact roles, but they've been co-TDs. They may be tournament directors still, but they're great at what they do here. So for the changes to your question, we were pretty involved. I've made 3 visits in the off season to help oversee some of the changes, and just give feedback, make sure tour standards are in place, and that lend any expertise I may have from Brewster, Fox, Glendoveer, other courses I've designed and helped on tour with.
Cool. And next question concerning the change on 18. From my understanding, the players were giving some feedback to the tour about the OB line, and a change was made midweek. How does the tour determine how much feedback is required before you guys go out there and make that change?
Well, actually, this was not derived from player feedback at all. We don't make any changes, in week based on player feedback whatsoever. We basically, the intent on several holes, including some of the new woods holes, was to either have relaxed OB or not to have OB at all. So on 18, the left side, the intent was not to have OB there. However, in the run-up to the start of the practice, the decision was made to put OB there because it was pretty rough, and so it looked like there may, even be some safety hazards in there. When we got to the point where we had enough bandwidth to put 12 folks out there to clean it up, that was the first day of practice. So, when it got to me, I basically, I was out there clearing it too. But I said, listen, we don't make our standards. We're not going to make competitive changes unless it's a safety issue further than 2 full practice days out. So while it was an official practice day, we made the adjustment because there's still 2 days to practice it. There's a little, maybe misunderstanding on why that change was made and how it was derived. That said, as we were, completing the change, we did get player feedback that was positive, and whatever we do, there's going to be a split. Not 100% of the people will agree with, any individual hole design, let alone a course. So, we base it on our professional staff of experienced operation crew, and I signed off on that because I think that the hole is better now that it's a little bit more relaxed. But ideally, that change is happening no later than the day before. But I'm happy the players had 2 days to practice it.
Hey Jeff, Jefferson from the Disc Golf World here. I'm just wondering, with Austin being the biggest city the tour visits, is there a future to expand in this area?
Absolutely. Austin, the city itself, is a big draw for us. It's South by Southwest week, so it can bring people in not just for disc golf, but for music and disc golf in this case. I'm not sure if we'll always be on this weekend, but we look at, key metro areas as places that we want to expand into or expand events at. So we've been working hard to get this event established. And I think, in the next couple of years, we definitely see growth. And there's already talks. A lot of partners. Mint Discs is here, on site. And there's thousands of disc golfers in Austin. So it's a match made in heaven, I think.
One more question then. Since there is poor weather forecasted, is the DGPT able to make backup plans in case of delays, or is it a situation that will have to adjust as it's happening?
Yeah, we do react to weather as it happens. If there's even when forecasts are like 90 to 100%, sometimes you see patterns change. We've got Seth Munsey on site who's been overseeing our safety program since 2020. And, he's got a meteorologist on staff, as well as, all the same resources that NFL, PGA Tour uses. So we trust in those. It does look, like weather will have an impact this week, but we'll wait and see. We are working on changes in coordination with the PDGA to basically make a rule change in the future, hopefully for next year, where we would be able to finish tournaments on Monday if they get impacted instead of shorten the tournament. But right now, hopefully we can get all 54 holes in. If not, I'm hoping as many as we can.
Hi, Jeff. Brian from DGN here. Question for you. Hi, Jeff. You were able to cut into the woods that the golf course itself was built around, which is pretty rare when it comes to working with traditional golf courses. How did that come to be? Was it an easy sell? And is there any talks of trying to negotiate that with other golf courses across the country?
Well, here, we have a good relationship with Harvey Pennick and First Tee, which is a nonprofit that basically serves kids in the area, that teaches them how to golf at low cost. And, it's a really great mission. They worked with UPlay this week to help bring those kids a little bit of disc golf into their lives. So it really, I don't know if Neil or Jim is in the presser, but they have the details. Neil Damber, the TD, actually works here part-time. So he was, greasing the skids. We didn't see any friction on getting that change done. I think that it's, if you have a good relationship and there's, value seen by the entity that owns the land, anything's possible. We certainly push for more and better land to use at every venue. Yeah.
When you're talking to golf courses to put tournaments on, is that always part of the negotiation, looking at a piece of woods on the property and say, hey, can we cut down trees here? Because obviously, when you're working with the golf course itself, you can't cut anything down.
Yeah, absolutely. Like at Glendevere, we basically can do anything we want. We've actually cut into the woods there, as long as it doesn't have a detrimental effect or it's approved by the golf course, but they haven't said no to much. I think that the Emporia Country Club is changed now, Champions Landing, co-owned by Jeremy Rusko, and they've done a bunch in the woods recently. So there's examples of this happening. We're always, pushing to use whatever we think is best for the layout. For sure.
Well, Jeff, thank you so much, and we'll see you out there this week.
One quick note. I want to give a shout out to Flight Factory. Thanks for presenting the event, and go check them out because they came on in support, and we appreciate it.
Open at Austin, presented by Flight Factory.
Exactly.
Thanks,
right.
Jeff.
Thank you.
All right, we'd like to welcome Paige Pierce to the press conference here at the Open at Austin. Paige, I want to first ask you about the course changes. I feel like this is some of the more drastic changes to a course that we've seen from one year to the next, and how do you feel about them?
Yeah, people keep asking me that. How do you like the changes? And it's funny because it's like, it's not a course like holes change. It's the whole course is different, you know, especially for the women. I think there's literally only 2 holes that are the same tee, same basket. I think it's 2 holes. So yeah, you know, just take it on like a new course and you know, appreciate it for what it is. I think it's very surprising. I was surprised to see how much woods they used and how much work they've done. Like, I know it's been a full year, but I'm sure they weren't out here working like last March. So like how much they've done in a short amount of time is like really incredible.
Yeah, those fairways in the woods, it seems like it would have had to have taken close to a year to get all those done.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing.
And so, you know, you took down this event last year. How different is the play style compared to, you know, what it took to win last year versus what it's going to take this year?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot different skills being tested. I'm not really throwing many drivers, which is pretty weird at a golf. Like when the viewers are thinking, oh, they're playing a ball golf course. I'm not really throwing many drivers. I'm throwing a lot of passion shots, which is an 8-speed, a lot of buzzes. And yeah, I'm throwing my drive maybe like 4 or 5 holes. But yeah, it's going to take a lot of angle control in the woods and like slower tempo shots that you just have to hit your gaps. If you hit a tree in those woods and hit early, you're struggling to get the bogey, and sometimes there's even OB. So yeah, double bogeys could be coming into play on those wooded holes.
And last year, you know, we spoke to you. You were going to Willie Nelson concerts. You were going to see music like right after your rounds, and it felt like that was a part of the joy that was carrying you to that first place. I want to ask you, like, what are you doing this week? Like, South by Southwest is going on. Are you partaking? Are you going to see music? And you know, what are your plans like this weekend during the event?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's such a cool thing that we always, and it seems like it's always here at the same time, South by Southwest. So trying to see bands that I know and love, and also finding new bands. And you know, every week on tour, it's like, okay, what are we going to do for off the course this week? Oh, escape rooms if we're in Jonesboro or somewhere like that. Or if you're in Portland, hey, let's go on a waterfall hike, something like that. But in Austin, it's seeing music and eating street tacos. And yeah, that's the plan for sure. Also laundry, getting back to tour life, like oil change, laundry. I got to go to the bank. So yeah, that's what I'm doing straight after this. But I'm going to catch a couple shows tonight. And be in bed by like 8:30. Yeah, trying to balance it, still get rest and be up and ready to go. So yeah, playing my practice rounds at like 7:45 in the morning, being done for the day by 10 with like work. And then yeah, like trying to get all the tour life stuff back together, get my dishes clean and take out the trash, and yeah, getting adjusted to the life on the road again.
All right, tour life. My next question is about the looming poor weather conditions. Like, how much do you look at the weather? How much do you think about it? Do you do anything different to potentially prepare for, you know, a delayed tournament or an abbreviated tournament?
Yeah, I mean, I hear people talking about it. I don't really check the weather until the night before. And if it's going to rain, I kind of get a couple things prepared, rain jacket, that kind of stuff. And then the morning of is really when I'm looking at it. Okay, how many towels do I need? I like to have like 1 towel per 3 holes so I can keep switching. If it's going to rain all day, like probably want 9 towels in the bag and obviously an umbrella. But there's not really much you can do besides be prepared. Like, everyone's going to play in those conditions, like in my division at least, you know. Our division's small enough where we're all going to have the same type of weather. So that my point is just like we're all gonna have to play in it, so like worrying or being anxious about it's not going to do you any good. Just try to be prepared and have the proper equipment. And I guess the only thing I'm really changing is like sometimes my run up is shortened, sometimes I'm standing still when I would throw a run up, but yeah, just gotta see what happens when the 10:15 hits tomorrow morning, or 10:50. Otherwise I'm just worrying for no reason.
Yep. And I want to ask you about your finishes at chess.com and Waco. When you look back at those events, you know, you cashed at both of them. Are you are you looking back at them, with pride that you're able to still, compete out here on the tour? Or are you looking back saying I could have done better? How do those finishes feel with such a long time off from the game?
Yeah, I think it's kind of mixed reactions for me. I mean, 10th place at Chess, 13th at Waco. Like you said, I cashed at both. But that's not really, I'm not content with 10th place. It's, yeah, I want better for myself. I always do. I think, even Kristin and Evelina winning the events, like, they want more for themselves too. There's putts they missed, there's drives they missed. Yeah, I threw some amazing shots that I'm like still replaying in my head, and that's trying to have some confidence on those amazing shots I watched leave my hand. But yeah, I know that there's a lot of work I need to do. I have all the shots, I have all the putts, just like getting consistent. If I was as consistent as Kristin, I feel like I could be up there in the top 3 every single week. So just getting more and more consistent, and I think that just comes with repetition. So.
Hey Paige, Swiss with the Disc Golf World. Quick question, going back to the weather, with the forecast, is there any additional precautions with your injury with the weather that may be coming in? Are you 100%? How comfortable are you feeling with that, with the conditions?
Yeah, I feel like I'm not too worried about that with rain. It's more for the slipping, but I guess that's caused from the rain. So yeah, just like I said, I probably will throw a few more standstills, and just, be more cautious looking down at my feet instead of, looking down the fairway preparing for my next shot, just kind of like watching every step and, try not to slip.
And as the defending champion, does your goals change? Like, have they, like you alluded to prior with the chess.com Invitational, do they amp up, or is your goals kind of stay flat with this type of tournament as a defending champion?
I think with the course being completely different, it's like different skills are tested. However, going into it knowing like that at least my competitors are maybe thinking about that. I think momentum is such a big thing in golf and disc golf and every sport really, that, I think Evelina and Kristin both have some momentum right now. And, as defending champ, I have a little bit of that. So try to kind of hone into that and channel that and push forward.
Hi, Paige.
Hello.
Brian with DGN here. A couple questions for you. You said that consistency is what you're looking for. You've obviously thrown a disc a time or two all over the world. You've thrown pretty much every shot you could possibly throw out there now. How much does bringing the right mindset to the course matter? And if it is a big important thing for you, what is that optimal mindset that you try to get yourself into?
Yeah, good question. I mean, the more shots that you take, the more shots you miss, right? So, I feel like but also the more shots you make. So it's like, it's whatever way you want to look at that. And like for me, on certain occasions, I think about the shots that I've missed. I go to a tournament that I've been playing for 12 years and I'm like, man, this hole's always gotten me, blah, blah, blah. Here on the new course, it's all like, there's no scar tissue, right? So I feel like we're all kind of on an even playing field there.
Yeah.
And yeah, trying to just like write the new story, because it is a new course and yeah, I don't know. I think that the mindset, to the second part of your question, the mindset's very important, very, very important. There's people that hate the course, not this course in particular, but, oh, this course sucks. Oh, I hate this city. Oh, this, and you're walking up to the first hole and you're already pissed, and the weather. Oh my God, I have to play in this. And I think that I have the advantage every single weekend with the positive mindset that I try to live with. And yeah, sure, there are times where it stumbles, but I feel like for the most part, I feel very positive, and I think that that's my biggest advantage overall of anything that I could bring to the table. Is I take a 12 last weekend, the next round I take a 3 on it. So not trying to hold on to those things and just move forward and be happy that I'm literally breathing, like life can be a lot worse.
Breathing's pretty nice.
Yeah.
Paige, good luck out there this
Thank
week.
you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we love breathing.
All right, we'd like to welcome Gannon Buhr to the press conference here at the Open at Austin. Gannon, flying high right now, man. You won last week. You won here last year. My first question, how do you celebrate a win? What do you like to do? What'd you do after Waco's victory?
Honestly, I don't know. It depends. Sometimes we'll go get some Domino's pizza or something. That's kind of a tradition me and Gavin Babcock have. We've been doing it for a couple years now. If we all both play pretty good, or it's just a good weekend, we get some Domino's pizza and kind of hog out, I guess. But I don't know. I forget really what we did. I don't think we did that much, honestly.
How much are you reliving those rounds with your friends? Like, how much do you tell Alden and Gavin, like, specifically, like, some shots that went down, like, some things that Luke did, some things that you did, like, some putts, the spit out? How much are you reliving that with your friends?
We talk about it, like, a lot, I feel like. At the end of every week, we go through the course, and as, like, let's say it's the same round or same course for all 3 rounds, if that's how a tournament works, we'll go through and like, hey, I was 1 down on hole 1, or I was 2 over on hole 2, and it's fun to see like kind of what we averaged over the whole weekend on each hole, because some people will play a hole super bad versus another person. It's just you just make fun of them because it's like, how do you bogey that hole? So that's always a fun game we play every week. Yeah, that's our traditional breakdown at the end of the weekend.
Cool. Well, you won here last year. It's a pretty much brand new course here this year. What are your thoughts on all the changes, the new fairways in the woods?
I'd say it's a better mix of shots than last year maybe. I did prefer last year's course better. I thought last year only had like 3 bad holes. I think hole 1, hole 6 last year, and then hole 17 were the only like 3 bad holes in the course last year. I thought the front 9 last year was like a good start. It was fun. Good mix of par 4s, par 3s, hard par 3s, and some par 4s. But I can definitely see, I know there was some complaints last year, so, but I think every single hole is different. I don't think there's one hole that's the same. Everything's at least changed by like 15, 20 feet in some pin positions and stuff like that. So there's a couple holes that are pretty similar. Definitely, coming in as a defending champ, people would say, I guess you could say I played good here, but that doesn't really apply anymore with the course being completely different. I'm not like a huge fan of the woods. The tee shots are kind of weird. They're like really short wooded holes with a lot of trees in the way, and it kind of just makes it to be a scramble hole in a way. You kind of just throw your shot. The tee shot's almost like a pitch shot, and then you throw your actual shot. And kind of the shapes you have to throw are just a little bit weird. Yeah. I mean, not necessarily that they're like bad holes, they're just kind of interesting. I maybe would prefer something else, like maybe a little bit longer of a wooded hole with a more defined fairway or 2 fairways. I think I'd prefer, but I can definitely see like why they added it, just because the course was pretty open last year.
And some of those distances are kind of fall in that awkward distance range for you specifically. Are you going mid-range in that situation? What specific disc are you throwing? Are you going putter?
Yeah, I think I'm going to break down a lot of the holes. Well, you got to be careful because there is a lot of OB actually in the woods this year, which definitely makes it difficult with tree kicks and stuff. So some shots I'm throwing forehand versus backhand is to purely prevent a tree kick OB. If there's OB on the right, throwing an Anheuser forehand, any tree kick just kicks OB right. So there's a couple holes that actually makes you think a lot more. I definitely try to find the safer side of the green if I can, or the safest side of a shot that makes it so even my bad shots are probably going to result in a par instead of a bogey. So it makes you think, which is good to see. And obviously, OB in the woods is something we see sometimes at like North Woods, which is a very difficult course. So it'll be cool to see how it plays out. I think they're going to play pretty tough. I wouldn't be surprised if people average like even to like 1 over through those wooded holes in the middle there.
Cool.
Hey Gannon, Jefferson here from the Disc Golf World. With the weather not looking great this weekend, are you starting to think of a backup plan for some shots in case you are playing in rain and wind?
Just play pretty quick disc golf. I think getting a game plan really is important if it gets like wet and windy outside, because that's another thing where if there's a lot of OB, you literally just have to stay in bounds at that point because people won't be getting the birdies then. And so as long as they're not dropping strokes, you're gaining the strokes on the field. So I think tonight and just over the next couple hours, I'll get my game plan kind of dialed in. I didn't really get too many good practice rounds in just because I had a lot of filming to do and stuff. But I'm just going to go through every hole in my head, find what disc in my bag is going to work best for each shot, that's going to give me the highest percentage probability to just give me a safe circle 1 putt or a safe circle 2 putt. And then, if it gets rainy out, we're just going to, hopefully play through it. Going to go to Walmart right now and probably buy some towels and, just get the game plan dialed in.
Cool. Clearly, you were fired up about the win at Waco. Talk to me about your mindset was like heading into hole 18 and then afterwards after you secured the birdie.
Yeah, that was pretty crazy. I knew going to 18 I had more distance than Luke does in terms of how far we throw. And so I knew it'd be tough for him to get the birdie. So in my head, worst case, I'm going to go into a playoff. And then if he ends up messing up, I can win the tournament. With him throwing OB on that green on the second shot, obviously he went first there. And so I was able to read off of that. It actually made my decision very clear. I'm going for the basket. It was a shot I was comfortable with, about 480 over the top with a flex PD2, and put it obviously pretty close to the basket and made the putt. And that's some of the most hype I've ever been to win a tournament. It was definitely right up there with USDGC a couple years ago in terms of how everything went down and how I had to clutch up toward the end of the round there.
Hi, Gannon.
Hello.
Brian with TGN here. You won a big old cowboy hat last year for taking this down. What is the minimum amount that fans need to PayPal you for you to wear it on hole number 1 of this weekend?
I don't need anyone's money.
Is it going to be Cowboy Gannon?
No. I actually have no idea where my hat's at. I think I might have gave it to my grandpa or something. I don't even know where it's at. I have the belt that was on the hat, but I don't know where the hat's at.
Well, I'm sure it's getting good use from your grandpa.
Yes.
Well, Gannon, that's all I have for you. Good luck
Okay.
this week. Congratulations on last week, and we'll see you out there.
Well, thank you.
All right, we'd like to welcome Holyn Handley to the press conference here at the Open at Austin. Holyn, the people building their disc golf fantasy lineups this week, should they include you or not?
They should include me every week.
Every week?
Every week.
Why? Why should they include you this week here in Austin?
This course I think really does set up nicely for my game, even with the addition of some of the wooded holes. And I feel like my gap hitting right now is kind of at an all-time high.
Yeah.
And the putting's been pretty sweet too. So.
When you say gap hitting, like are you throwing putters on a lot of those new wooded holes that they built?
I actually throwing a lot of forehand, a lot of flip up forehands. Okay. Just whatever I feel like is going to get me a nice straight shot.
What disc are you using for that slot right now?
I've got a really flippy ESP Raptor.
Raptor.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. So Holyn, what is preventing you from breaking through? You know, the win at USWDGC last year, what's preventing you from competing for the win every week?
I think I'm trending in the right direction. I think historically it's been mostly my own head. A lot of times frustration kind of gets the better of me, or I'm not trusting myself to execute the shots that I can execute, so a little bit of overthinking. And I think this offseason and then coming into this season, I've made a lot of improvements in that area, so I think it's only a matter of time.
Well, what did the prep week look like so far? How many rounds are you typically getting in at a course, especially one with as many changes as this week?
Yeah, usually 2 rounds is all I really need. Occasionally, if I feel like there's a hole or two that I haven't quite figured out yet, I may go back and just play those holes on a third day. But I feel like I know the lines that I need to throw. It's just going to be a matter of executing them.
So just 2 practice rounds. How much of your time then throughout the week is spent out in the field or is spent on the practice basket? How much are you just relaxing?
This week it's been mostly just relaxing. It kind of depends, where I feel like my game is at. A lot of times I do like to do practice and then off day or field work day and then another practice day, weather permitting. But yeah, I haven't done a field work session this week because I feel like my throws are right where they need to be, and it's just a matter of kind of trusting them.
And what does your mental training process look like? We feel like you have all the physical skills, and you've answered before that you feel like you're getting in your own way. Like, is there any literature that you're reading? Are there any athletes that you look up to as far as their mental approach to their sport?
Yeah, I think the thing that's really working for me is kind of just letting myself feel the things that I feel. Like, obviously I care about disc golf a lot and I care about winning tournaments, and so when stuff doesn't go my way or does go my way, like, I'm gonna feel things. And I think in the past I've either given those negative emotions kind of too much oxygen and let them kind of spiral, or I've been doing like this kind of fist clenching, like trying to suppress them kind of thing, and neither of those approaches has really worked. But I think what's been working is just let it be, and then kind of let whatever my emotions are be, but let my determination to then execute the next shot just be stronger than whatever I'm feeling. And it's been huge. I mean, if I compare now to this time last year, my ability to kind of bounce back is just like completely different. And then on like the overthinking side of things, this is something I even practiced toward the end of my off season, is just a better separation of like the thinking and executing phases of throwing a shot. So my pre-shot routine has changed a little bit, where I'm just trying to purely go off of visualization. And then once I've visualized the shot, I've made all of the decisions, just kind of shut the brain off, focus on my point, and then just, send it. And those things have been working really well. I think the main thing that I can improve on from last week is doing that more for my forehand shots. That was something I spent a lot of time in the off season, and I think I've been kind of over cueing myself a little bit. And so now it's time to just kind of let those shots go, let those shots happen.
Cool. Thank you, Holyn.
Yep.
Hi, Holyn.
Hey.
Brian with DGN here. A couple questions about that mental side of the game. I've had a couple of really wonderful conversations. I had one with Kristin about kind of the mental side of the game after her win at Waco. Just talked to Paige Pierce about how she's kind of approaching the game. You always hear players say, oh, I want to keep a sense of urgency the whole time, and then you hear some players say, I really just want to stay calm. Mm-hmm. Is there such thing as being too calm or have too much of a sense of urgency on the course?
I think there's a happy medium, because there are times where I'm way back on the lead and I won't check scores because I'm like, I just need to head down and execute. I don't need to be thinking about other stuff. And then there are times where I'm like kind of slow. My brain's not in a bad place, but I kind of need to kick things into gear. And so I might check scores and be like, okay, I'm 2 back of the person ahead of me, and kind of give myself a little like micro goal to go after. So I think for me, it's like seeing where my head's at and where my momentum's at, and like, do I need to change it? And if so, I might let one of those external factors, such as like checking the score or something, kind of help create that urgency.
So it's part of letting yourself feel all emotions and not place judgment on them. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
So next question for you. You've been a big fan of lifting during the season. And I know you, at least last year, I saw you multiple occasions getting in the gym and getting workouts in. What does that look like this year? Are you still lifting heavy? What does that look like?
Yeah, so I've changed my approach a little bit. So I found like 3 days a week is about the most that I can really stick to. And so I try to kind of organize it so that my harder lifts, the more fatigue-inducing lifts, are on Sunday night. So I'll, finish my round, go take a nap, watch the guys finish, and then I'll go hit the gym and, do the squats, RDLs, the stuff that's going to take a couple days to recover from. And then I usually hit the gym again Tuesday and Wednesday. And then by the time Wednesday rolls around, it's the body parts that are going to recover in a day pretty easily. And so far I've really liked it. I kind of get a nice little mini taper every week. And so come Friday, I feel really great.
Sleeping like a baby on Sunday night.
Absolutely.
You mentioned to me at chess.com that you kind of winked at me and said, hey, I've been trying to learn some more hyzer flip forehands versus the power flex shots. is that more of a novelty just for fun to see if you can do it, or is that a shot that you're actually trying to work in?
Oh, absolutely gonna try to work that in. I mean, we were talking about it with Nate using more of the flip up forehands with the Raptor, but I've been working with the Buzz SS as well because it feels so similar to a zone in the hand. It's just if you get enough spin and you can limit the off axis torque, it's not that hard to do.
So what is the choice to throw something like that versus throwing something more stubborn and flat?
I think what I like about, throwing something flip up, it's same as on the backhand. It's a little bit easier to commit to like a hyzer angle than it is to do like a more flat angle. Mm-hmm. And so, a lot of it's just like experimentation and then comfort. And generally like a perfectly flat sidearm for me is probably one of the harder things for me to throw. I do better if I stay on like a more intentional angle.
And then going along with the concept of equipment, where is your bag at right now? It seems like throughout the season, some of your favorite discs get seasoned in. They don't fly like they used to. You have to find a substitute. Are you in one of those transitional periods, or do you feel like you have a few discs that are flying like a joystick right now?
Honestly, kind of both. I did add a lot of discs to the bag after chess.com. I wanted a little bit. My Athena was getting to be a great stability, like dead straight, but I needed something still overstable, so I've got a new overstable Athena in the bag. I wanted a little bit more overstable throwing putter, so I've got a Chally OS in the bag. And then, of course, Paige just came out, or Discraft just came out with Paige's new driver, the Drive, and that fits nicely kind of between my Scorch and my Forces, so I've been messing around with that as well.
Is that just field work to get the reps, or do you just take them out on the course and try to work different lines with them?
Both. I mean, field work to try them out initially, and then, just like seeing what they do on the course, seeing what they do in different winds. Round 3 at Waco is a great opportunity to see how some of these discs hold up in really intense headwinds. So,
well, should be a really interesting week out here in Austin. Good luck out there.
Thank you.
We'll be right back in just a few. Thank you.
We'd like to welcome Bradley Williams to the press conference here at the Open at Austin. Bradley, one of Austin's hometown heroes. I want to ask you, how do you feel like Austin has, shaped your life, but more specifically, how have the disc golf courses in Austin shaped who you are as a disc golfer?
Well, Austin's a pretty laid-back city, and it's an outdoor city. So there's I was a BMX motocrosser, hunter, fisher, disc golfer. I could do pretty much whatever I wanted. Go out to the lake, do some cliff jumping. It was a pretty adventurous city to be a part of. And when it comes to the courses and the culture, we had the Hot Tour, which was Capital Texas Open at Peace Park, was the biggest tournament in Austin proper. And then in Round Rock, we had the Double R Club that ran Outlaws. So they had two competing tournaments that were, so there was something there in town to play for, like a big tournament, big tier. And then, on the weekends, you had John Houck's, come and hang out on the ranch and throw under the stars disc golf. So you had a little bit of laid back disc golf and competitive mixed in with a bunch of different types of courses that were always really busy. So I felt like you had to be time smart when you went out to the course to get your holes in, or you'd be backed up. So I think just disc golf in general shaped me as like more of a thinking, get it done, serious, kind of grind it out mix of shots. Plus we had a lot of par 3s and par 4s.
My next question is, you used to dominate all the tournaments here in Texas. Like, how do you feel like that has, or does it still have, an impact on your game today playing out on the tour?
Well, I think, getting experience like on a lead card or defending a lead or chasing after a lead is definitely something that was impactful. Nowadays, it's like I can't relate as much because it's so much harder. I can average 10-25, 10-30 golf and be outside the top 10. I could be, outside. So I'm not going to really have the same feels. But I think coming up, playing B tiers in Texas was definitely valuable, like to gain confidence and also deal with when you show up, everyone looks at you like a target on your back, like, oh, you're expected to win, which is a challenge in itself when you're expected to do well and you have to go play a new course that you've never played in a new town against 2 or 3 players that are locals. That was always pretty daunting, and I had tripped up a few times, trying to do that, and I found success in other times. So
cool. So there was a time period where you were playing 1030 disc golf, but you were doing it all locally, and then a tour started up, and we didn't really see you out on the tour as much. And my question is, how much different is life playing, living in one area and playing some local tournaments, maybe traveling out of state for 2 a year? Is your life enriched now that you're traveling all over the United States and Europe to play this game, or how can you compare the two?
Before it was sort of something that you knew you were going to do, but you had a whole week or weeks leading up to just prepare for one event. So you could take your time. I noticed that I did a lot more field work back in the day. So like at some points I felt more dialed, possibly for the little small B tiers. But as far as my life being enriched, I love traveling. That's one of the reasons that I chose to play disc golf for money, basically, is to travel. That's something I'm super into. Like, I've always wanted to be in a car driving somewhere, going exploring, and disc golf has allowed me like a tool or a vehicle to do that. So my life is definitely enriched following the tour, and now that the Disc Golf Pro Tour is more established, it's making it even more sweet.
Well, Bradley, we know that you were dealing with some injuries throughout the year, honestly, last season, some shoulder injuries. Like, how's the body feeling right now? And, on a bigger level, how do you feel like, how many years left do you feel like your body has? How long can you do this professional disc golf tour?
So, yeah, my body kind of ebbs and flows. I've definitely been struggling with injury, especially in my shoulder region, like the rhomboid. And I thought it was going to be a strong year, injury-free, and I surprise attacked another injury right before the start of the tour. So I'm already dealing with another injury in my arm. I think I can compete on tour if we don't have to throw 475 to clear water every hole, because it seems like that's like my max range now. So I don't have too much longer, because if they're going to start catering to a different class of players, then I'll just be phased out for sure.
Hey Bradley, Jefferson from the Disc Golf World here. Being a Texas native, does that bring any sort of advantage to this swing at the tour?
Not really. This tournament is sort of like a Neil Dambra production. Neil has been taking the Open tournament all across Texas. He did it in Woodville, where I first met him, which is in nowhere East Texas on a golf course. He moved it around to a few other places. So now we're in Austin, but it doesn't feel like a homegrown tournament because it's not on one of the courses ran by some of the people in clubs that I grew up with. It's sort of like a pop-up event that we're all a part of. So it doesn't feel kind of home turf to me.
So how would you say your game sets up for this course then?
I definitely have all the shots to play this course. I've gone through it a few times, but I don't feel like really at home here. I don't know. I just don't.
Cool. Thank you.
Hi, Brad.
Hey.
A couple questions for you. Saw over the off season that you were working with a tech disc.
Yeah.
How much did you work with that? And for those of you listening who haven't used one, it tracks your speed, nose angle, launch angle, all sorts of statistics on the disc coming out of your hand. what have you learned about your throw from working with the tech disc, and did it spark any adjustments in the form?
Yeah, like the longer I have to play with it, the more that I can tinker and adjust. And when I was using it, which wasn't very often, I've only went out 2 times, I was learning like how fast I need to do certain footwork moves to get my speed up. Yeah, so like, there's a lot of valuable information with the tech disc. I let my students when I coach in the offseason use it, and it gave them the carrot at the stick to keep pushing their body to get over those like plateaus of going faster and faster, because now they know what it feels like. They can see the number going up, and every time they get another mile per hour, it's easier for them to stick with it. So I think it's a really useful tool, and I would love more free time to play with it.
As a coach, does it excite you in regards to what the students can get stats-wise, and maybe what you can see stats-wise?
It does, yeah. It also adds a little extra level. Like I pop up a net, I have the disc out. I'm like in one spot. Usually field work kind of gets spread out, and you're all over. I love that it can be condensed to a really small area, and so as a coach, it's been really helpful to use it this off season.
So, Perkins was talking about your professional career on the Disc Golf Pro Tour, but is coaching something that you've just been passionate about for a long time, and is that something that we'll see you do even more of later on?
I think early when I started getting approached by friends and people who wanted me to help with their game, it was sort of like a word of mouth thing. Like someone said that I helped them, and then they said, "Hey, I heard that you did this." So coaching has sort of been something that's kind of come to me, and I've just tried to help as much as I could. I definitely enjoy it. It's it's satisfying, especially to take newer, younger players. It's a little more frustrating to work with someone who's pretty good and they're just looking for that extra like 1 or 2%. But it's really uplifting and fun to work with new players, because that's really easy to make some changes.
Well, Bradley, thank you so much for your time. Good luck out there this week.
Thanks, Brian.
And we'll be right back.
All right, we'd like to welcome Luke Humphries to the press conference here at the Open at Austin. Luke, I'm still, personally processing what happened on the last hole and how it all went down, and how you left Waco not being the champion. It seemed like it was your day when you hit the putt on hole 16, one of the most electric moments I can recall on the tour. My first question is, what was that hole and that experience like from you when you look back on it, and that moment, and that fist pump and that look at the crowd? What was that experience like?
Man, crazy. I'll start with the tee box. At that point, I hadn't looked at scores. I didn't know anything. I was trying to just play my game plan and get the birdies I knew I could get to that point. So I asked my caddy, Zach Fansler, I said, do we need to keep on birdieing? I felt like I had gotten a lot of them at that point. I pretty much knew the answer was going to be yes, but I needed to hear it from him. He said, yeah, you need to get 2 of the next 3. At that point, I think Niklas had finished, so he kind of knew that 2 of the next 3 gets me 1 ahead of him. And I had never played that tee shot aggressive. It seemed like a hole you didn't ever want to have to play aggressive, but in the moment, I knew exactly how to play it. Turn it off that tree with the D3 I'd been throwing all day. Just cut right inside that one in circle 2 and give myself a putt. I was feeling great from, that mid circle 2 range, so game plan executed off the tee shot, and then, that putt was a moment that I'll recall forever. It was a moment where I taught myself I could do it, or told myself I could do it. It was the first time I feel like I actually did it with the moment as big as it was. And I'd been telling Nico for like weeks, like, don't run your putts in, dude. It doesn't look professional. Like, we got to act like we know what we're doing. Like, when we hit a good putt, you walk it in like Tiger Woods or whatever. But in that moment, dude, I ran it in. It's just what you do, I guess. I'm sorry, Nico.
And you could feel the crowd. I mean, you're from, you cut your teeth in Texas, and you've built a community of friends around here, not only the Skins, but you're taking people out, rock hounding and stuff. You have a lot of really close friends out here. And not to say that Niklas and Gannon Buhr didn't have people rooting for them, but it felt like the crowd was there to see you take down your first Pro Tour win. Like, could you feel that at all during those final moments?
On 16, yeah. That's when I knew. It was great shots getting applauded to that point. I knew that Niklas was tearing it up. I actually didn't know who was tearing it up. I just knew somebody was.
Yeah.
And didn't know until 18 that it was Niklas, actually. But it was on that putt on 16 where it really felt like Texas was behind me, which is a great feeling to have. The Lone Star State's amazing. The community here is fantastic. I consider it second to none. I did cut my teeth here, as did Emerson Keith and a bunch of other really good players yourself. Yep. Bradley Williams, Mason Ford. Like, this area provides and proves really good players.
And so you knew you had to get one more, 17 or 18. 17, one of the more dangerous holes. It seemed like you played that hole without any fear at all. Like, were you nervous on that tee shot, hanging that wide out over the water? How do you decide, hey, I'm going to get this one? And 18, what's going through your mind?
17, I had birdied round 2. Felt good about it. The wind was crazy that day, so to have the confidence that I had birdied it already and just in nasty conditions gave me some confidence that day. I had the right disc in my bag too, a 400 D2 that's super stable. So I picked a line probably 70 feet right and hammered it flat, knowing that it was going to come all the way back, and had total confidence in the tee shot. Didn't really feel nervous about it, but I was like starting to get super emotional at that point. In the walk from 16's basket to 17's tee, I had to keep myself from just bursting out into tears at one point.
Wow.
I had to kneel down. I don't think it's on camera or anything, but I threw that tee shot with tears in my eyes.
Wow. And, my last question about the finish of that tournament, your tee shot on 18 goes through the tree. It puts you in an okay position, but it felt like it was out of position for the birdie. What was the thought process like? Were you trying to lay that up short? Were you trying to just close out the tournament and get a long putt for birdie? Did you talk to anybody about, where Gannon was, his chances of birdieing? What's your thought process there?
I pulled out a rangefinder. Well, I did go through that tree. Let's talk about that first. It was definitely a lucky break, but I was 100% confident I was making it through that gap. It doesn't make sense to be that confident, but I felt like it really didn't matter where I threw it. It was going through. I was going to have an upshot. And so when that happened, it was almost like confirming what I was feeling, that this was my day, that I could go for this. So I got up there. I rangefinded at 375 to the tree I needed to miss prior to the green. I think it was about 90 feet past that tree to clear the green. So it was a big shot, but I thought that if I could skip off the green and give myself a putt, that I was going to bang anything I looked at. If it was inside circle 2, I was hitting that putt. I was keeping it within my control. I wasn't going to let it go to a playoff with two of the sickest players ever. I mean, Niklas Anttila and Gannon Buhr in a playoff, like, please. I wanted to control what I could control and win the tournament right there, Nate.
Well, I was standing right there by the green, and the shot couldn't have been any closer to making it across. It just barely lost speed. And what has the process been like, accepting that you were so close? It's so hard to win out here on the tour. How have you kind of metabolized the loss?
I've thought about it a lot. I think there's no way not to. There was a layup play. I could have done 2 or 3 different things. I could have forehanded one out left. I could have been more aggressive with a forehand roll. There was so many different plays, but in the moment, I felt like that was the play. And I'm not going to fault myself for trying to win a tournament at the end of the day. I didn't lay it up bad or do anything. I got aggressive like I had been doing all day, like I did on 16, like I did on 17. I stuck with the game plan that I had brought in that had gotten me to that position. And I don't regret it. Now I was trying to win a tournament.
Cool. Thanks, Luke.
Yeah.
Hey Luke, Swiss with the Disc Golf World. You've had success at Waco in the past. What is it about Brazos or that tournament that seems to bring the best out of you?
I think it's early in the season. I love the feels of being like back to school in a way. I think that I'm a player that needs fresh things. It gets a little monotonous out here by the end of the season. We've played tournaments for 20 weeks in a row and it just doesn't feel the same. So there's some fire, there's some interest that's here early season that's not. And then you combine that with feeling like Texas is a bit of a home field for me, and maybe you just get a good combination. And then, you know, the Beast, I like to say it's a perfect A3 track. The A3 from Prodigy disc is a flat, torque-resistant approach disc it's like perfect for 270 shots, and there's just like 6 of those on the Beast, you know. So if you're dialed with your approach game, especially with a forehand at the Beast, it can be a really easy track to play.
Follow up. As easy as it is to say, you know, trying to get over this and there's another week coming into it, how is it with the mental makeup coming into this new tournament? Is it just fresh? Are you still holding on to things? Where are you at on that?
I definitely, I don't want it to be totally fresh. I played a great tournament last week and I want to keep some of those feels going. At the same time, I flew out the next morning after the tournament and haven't been on the grounds until just now. So I haven't played a practice round. I've been with my family in Arkansas, getting some time in with them, which has been fantastic. So there's not like a confidence I can feel from having thrown the shots that I'm going to need to throw. But actually on Tour Life a couple nights ago, Yuli told me that this course sets up well for me. So I'm going to trust a friend and hope that he's right.
Hey Luke, one last question for you. You were just talking about kind of hindsight and all the things you quote unquote could have done in that last moment of the round. You're also pretty much close to being a scratch traditional golfer as well, correct? I'm sure you felt that hindsight feeling before, and how much have you had to process that just playing golf?
I mean, all the time, man. This is part of our sport. We're making decisions in the moment. You know, we have 30 seconds if we're playing it by the rules to decide what we want to do and execute the shot. It's not much time at all. And that little throw-in opportunity I had on 18 there was 120 feet, maybe 130. And that happened so quick. You know, it's crazy to think then that James was able to compose himself properly in a bigger moment than I was in. Yeah, and able to throw it in like that. It just happened so fast, man. All of a sudden the moment was gone and the tournament was lost, and it happens quick, man.
Well, Luke, go out and get your practice round. Good luck this weekend.
I appreciate you, Brian.
We'll
Thank
be right
you, guys.
back in just a few.
All right, we'd like to welcome Kristin Tattar to the Open at Austin press conference. And Kristin, this was one of 2 events where you finished outside the top 4 last year. Just 2 events outside the top 4. And I remember they forced me to interview you after your poor round. And I asked you, you know, how you're feeling, and you looked at me and you said, well, you're a player. You know how I'm feeling right now. How do you feel about coming back to a course or a tournament that you didn't perform up to your expectations? Is that in your head at all? Or are you thinking about last year's performance whatsoever?
I remember it well, and I remember the moment. I mean, I think the emotions were just super high. But usually these kinds of rounds come to me because it allows me to feel these feelings that I haven't been feeling. So now I know, I just accept them, and I just let these feelings go through me. And I haven't been really looking back at it with any emotion at all. It was just one event. Mm-hmm. It happened. That's okay. Coming here, actually, it feels like a whole other event because the courses have been, the course has been changed a lot. But yeah, I don't know. I remember it was a tough final round for me. I played solid the first 2 days, but it's just something that happened, and it doesn't mean anything right now. I feel like this.
Good. Well, you feel pretty positive about the course changes. We've had a lot of positive feedback about them. What are your thoughts on the amount of work that went in to create those new wooded holes?
Mm-hmm. I think the changes are for the better, for sure. What makes me a little bit concerned are the tight OBs in the woods. Mm-hmm. As a player, I think it's like a super big punishment because there could be a very big scoring separation there, even with like similar throws. But we'll see how it plays out. I think it adds a lot more drama to the game. So yeah. I'm just interested to see how everybody attacks the course.
Yeah. How do you feel like a tour or a course designer can challenge, you know, the best players in the field, you know, without OB? Are you kind of against having OB in situations like that, or do you feel like they should just make the lines tighter?
You know, it's something that I don't really think about. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm not blind to these things, yeah. But typically when I go to the course, I know I have a tournament coming up on the weekend. Then I accept the course as it is. You know, these are the conditions. And so far, I've been successful on all types of courses. Mm-hmm. So I think it's that mindset of accepting everything that is put out there. Yeah. So, yeah, but if I was the designer, I would try to avoid OBs as much as I can. I mean, it makes it interesting on the open holes, but on the wooded holes, I think the trees and the nature should be like shaping the fairways. Mm-hmm. That's just my personal opinion.
And do you notice that your fellow competitors, do they spend a lot of mental energy kind of focusing on the changes? I feel like, you know, from the outside looking in, I hear a lot of players constantly talking about this isn't good enough or it should be this way. Do you feel like you have an advantage over them because they're, you know, thinking about those things and what could or couldn't be?
I mean, I don't really compare myself with anybody else that way. But of course, if you are worried about things that you cannot change, it's a leak of energy. I call it like this. So I don't want to be leaking my energy before tournaments. I want to be focused on what I can do and what are my best chances to like win the tournament. And I don't really worry about these things. And also I feel like I'm staying in sort of a bubble with Silver. We don't really talk like too much with other people, or if I see them, I don't typically start complaining about stuff. I ask about what's going on in their lives or whatever. So yeah, I don't know.
Thank you.
Hey Kristin, Jefferson from the Disc Golf World here. After your first tournament of the season, how does your game feel? Does everything feel good, or is there some things you're still working on that we as fans might still not know?
I feel like everything's working. At first I was not so confident in my putting like the first couple of rounds. I wasn't sure when to release the disc. It was like too high, too low. So, but during the tournament, I think I figured it out. I hope so. Right now, everything seems to be working. But I mean, in disc golf, one day is one day and another is another. So you never know.
Mm-hmm. Does the poor weather change your mindset or game plan for the rounds at all?
I try not to let it affect me. I go into every round with the same mindset. And of course the conditions could get tough out there, but they're tough for everyone. And I just try not to put too much energy into the conditions because I cannot change the wind.
Hi, Kristin.
Hey.
A couple questions for you. Talking about what Perkins said earlier about having the OB kind of on one side of the woods or having it be really tight. When you're playing in the woods and something like that presents itself, does your decision making change based on what side of the fairway you need to quote unquote miss on? Do you ever change that?
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, mostly it just comes down to the shot that I trust the most. And typically in the narrow fairways, I trust my forehand a lot more than the backhand. So I'm leaning towards the forehand, even if the OB is on the right-hand side.
Okay, so the miss is not necessarily being considered because the make is the...
Well, sometimes it is, but it depends on the hole, but yeah.
Well, Kristin, I got one last question for you, actually. This week, little bit of downtime. We're in the same town, pretty much. Or it's an hour and a half away or so, so it didn't take too long to get here. Any time to just sit on a field, practice, throw? Did you feel like you had to do anything like that this week?
No, I've been just out on the course every day and not on the field.
Any extracurricular activities in the city of Austin? Anything fun?
Yes, we will have some time after the rounds probably. We went to the movies yesterday to see Kung Fu Panda 4. It was a lot of fun. And yeah, there's a lot of things to do here. I think I'm going to visit the botanical gardens if the weather holds up, but we'll see.
Well, Kristin, good luck this week and thank you for your time.
Thanks.
All right, we'd like to welcome Mason Ford to the press conference here at the Open at Austin. Mason missed cash at chess.com and then fourth place at Waco. Now, if you just look at those finishes, it seems like there's a massive difference there. From your perspective, how much different was your level of play to miss the cash and to potentially compete for a win?
I don't know if it's exactly how I played. I think it just shows, round 2 at the Olympus was on the chase card. I think it just shows if you have couple mistakes this year, how fast you can go from 4th place to missing cash or missing the cut.
Yep.
I think that's really what it shows.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at, is like how difficult is it to, to even make a cut these days, and not only just make the cut but compete for the win. Like, did you feel like you were playing out of body at all at Waco, or do you feel like you were right in your lane to be on that lead card during that final round?
I feel like I definitely belong there on the lead card, and I feel like the Beast really showcases my game and kind of a place to where one of the courses I guess I can say I feel more comfortable on. Just the technical woods, playing smart in the open, just kind of fits me. Out on the golf course, that was a little bit out of my element, but then again, I mean, if you have the tour distance, anybody should be able to compete and execute shots on a golf course the same as you should in the woods.
Yeah, I mean, I watched you, play that final round, and the distance didn't seem like the issue at all. I mean, I'm just referring back to your shot over the water on hole 2.
Yeah.
Elite distance. I mean, as far as you could ever need to throw on that course, do you still carry a little doubt when you compare yourself to a player like Gannon Buhr and his distance?
What I think about often is going to DDO, and I'm having to throw multiple angles on a disc to get it to fly that far, versus a Gannon or an Anthony Barella are one-angled shots. They can throw a hyzer on a forehand, where I might have to, control the nose angle and release angle on a fairway driver to get that nice smooth turnover the way that they can just throw a forehand. So I think that's really the difference. I guess just the level of execution for the shots that we have to throw is different. They can miss a little bit and still hit the fairway, but if I miss it all, it could be 70 feet shorter or OB left or right. I think that's really what it comes down to.
Yep. Well, I want to talk about the equipment, Mason. I haven't heard you talk much about Mint discs. What has that switch been like, and what is the relationship like with a smaller manufacturer like Mint?
The relationship couldn't be better. I mean, they are as transparent as what they can be, support me in any way possible, and I mean, me and my family. As for the transition, honestly, Mint has a lot of older runs that are very sought after, along with, some sought after newer runs, and a lot of the fan base was very into, I guess, hooking me up with the good plastic. Do you know what I mean? Giving me the good sought after runs, and I mean, just the fans in general couldn't be any more supportive of me as well.
Yeah. What slots do you feel like you're really confident in? Are there any slots in your bag that you feel like you're still trying to find that specific run of driver or a specific flippy mid-range, if any holes at all?
I don't think I have maybe an overstable driver that goes a little bit further than, like, we have a Longhorn that's at 11 speed and a Goat that's almost like an X-Cal. Something that kind of fits in between there, like, the Destroyer mold. But the Alpha's that perfect fairway that I throw probably most of my shots with.
Cool, thanks, Mason.
Thank you.
Hey Mason, Swiss with the Disc Golf World. You led in Circle 1 and 2 regulation off the tee at Waco. How does your game off the tee specifically feeling right now?
Off the tee, I felt great. I mean, I probably was close to leading the field in bullseye hits as well. I mean, I felt like a lot of times my average putt was probably like 15, 20 feet when I'm putting for birdie. And I mean, in the backyard, you should be 100 for 100 on the tour from 20 and 15 feet.
Nice. And last year you took 6 at this event. I know there's a bunch of changes. How do you feel you can attack this course specifically?
I feel like this course kind of fits similar to the Waco and the ball golf course. So, I mean, my game feels great on this course as well.
Mason, Brian Earhart with DGN. Question for you. After what I watched last week at Waco, you have some of the best angle integrity in regards to shot shaping that I feel like I've seen in recent memory. I don't think anybody is guessing what angle you're going to throw on the moment you start moving up the tee pad, which is a big compliment. What are your thoughts in regards to aiming and lining up a shot shape when you step up to a tee pad?
So, shot shaping and how I hit gaps, it's a lot with my footwork. Depending on I feel like a lot of people kind of come up right side to left side and throw every shot like that. And I feel like I try to think about how is my momentum that I'm building up going through whatever gap or angle I'm trying to hit. And I feel like it just kind of brings in a layer of consistency because every shot is the same in that way.
And by default, you were talking to Nate about throwing multiple angles versus throwing kind of the flex style play like Gannon has kind of taken to. Is that something that you have ever tinkered with? Have you ever tried being a flex player versus someone who kind of defaults to hyzer flip?
It's something that I've definitely worked on this off season because thinking back to a lot of courses kind of like later in the season that don't really like my play style, and that's something that I did notice, and so that's something I've definitely worked on this off season, but not quite as comfortable as the hyzer release, you know?
Definitely. Well, the last thing I want to ask you were mentioning a few things about just your history before you got into touring back in Waco with me. Talk about the time before you hit the road full time. What was your life looking like, and what were the kind of things you were into other than disc golf?
So I worked as a vet tech before for 5 years or so after high school until I moved to San Antonio to pursue my dream of disc golf. And then what was the other question?
Just what were the things you were into other than disc golf?
I fished a lot. Pretty much, me and my stepdad would go fish, every weekend before I played disc golf. And then as soon as disc golf came into my life, kind of traded one off for the other.
Mm-hmm. Well, then let's zoom in this week, Austin, Texas. Talk about Austin, Texas disc golf in general, maybe not just Harvey Pinnock.
When I think of Austin disc golf, I really think about the community of people and just how supportive they are of their local pros, whether it's Bradley, Connor, me, and just, I guess, that level of support that they have for, their hometown crowd.
Well, Mason, it's a special place to be. Good luck out there this week. We'll see you.
Thank you, Brian.
We'll be right back in just a few.
All right, we'd like to welcome Finnish superstar Niklas Anttila to the press conference here at the Open at Austin. Nikke, you almost brought one back home to Finland. You almost brought back the Elite Plus. How have you metabolized the loss since last Sunday?
Yeah, one more second place. I think being second is kind of complicated because at the same time you're happy about you playing good the whole weekend. You need to play good if you want to finish on podium these days. But of course being second is like heartbreaking, and as an athlete you never want to be second. In my mind everyone but the winner is like loser, so I don't really mind if I'm like second or 10th. I'm losing anyway, so yeah, that's kind of my mentality there.
So I want to actually jump back to last week and ask you a little bit more about the experience of pushing for the win from the chase card. Like how much are you, rather, how aware are you of the competitors' scores? When, if ever, did you check scores during that final round?
Yeah, I love chasing people down. I think when chasing, you need to look at the scores more often. I was looking at the scores maybe every 3 holes, and I was aware of what was happening around me. But of course, you just need to do you and do what you do best. And yeah, I was doing that pretty good last weekend.
You got the birdie on 15 late, the little bounce. Did you see that video?
Yep.
Did you see it in person bounce off the rail, or did you have to wait to see it on the channels later?
So in practice, I threw more for a flex line with PD2, and the wind was way different that day. And yeah, I knew that I threw it way too hard and way too long. And I was I almost turned around and I was oh, but that's OB. It's gonna be putt for par from C2 edge, or C1 edge. And yeah, then I turned around, everyone was clapping on me, and I was well, I think I'm in bounds.
So did you check the scores after that and realize that if you get 2 more birdies, it's case closed? I think 1 more birdie, they would have had to birdie out to even tie you for the playoff. You par 16. What's going through your mind on the difficult 17?
Yeah, I actually birdied 16 with a good putt, and then I knew that if I go into birdie at least 1 hole, I have a good chance to win the tournament. So yeah, of course going OB on 17 is not ideal, but I think I made the right decision to go for the birdie in that position, and yeah, I wouldn't do anything different if I could.
Yep. And last question about last week. What's the experience like being in the clubhouse, being done with the round, and then watching Luke and Gannon finish out? I believe you got to see them play 16, 17, and 18.
Yeah, I saw them playing 17 and 18 at least. Of course, it's very stressful, but I kind of knew that at least someone is going to do better than me. Maybe if I birdied 18, it would have been a different story, but I kind of knew that. I think 36 down was my score, and that was going to be enough for podium, but not for the win.
Yep. All right, jump into the course this week. Did you play here last year?
Yes, I did.
And what do you think about the brand new track that they brought for you this year?
It's way different, actually. I think you need to place your tee shots right on the right places to have a good chance for the birdies. I felt like last year I was just throwing as hard as I could on every hole and then see what happens after that. That's the case for me on multiple courses actually, but yeah, I think now you need to think more, and for example holes 6 to 8 you need to kind of survive those holes. I'm not looking for a birdie on any of those holes really, maybe hole 7, but yeah, just need to survive on those holes and birdie when you can.
Yeah, and so 6 through 8, when you say you're not looking for birdie, what is the play for par on those holes if you're not playing for the birdie? You're just slowing down and making sure you don't go OB and then pitching up to the corner. Can you kind of break down the golf there?
Yeah, I will go for the birdie if I have a good chance, but I'm not going for huge tee shot on either of those holes. I'm kind of for example hole 6, I'm playing it more to the left and staying away from the OB. I feel if I go for the birdie, I bring so much more OB into the play and all of those kicks and stuff in the woods. So it's kind of random. So I play for safe par or maybe a birdie.
Cool. Thanks, Niklas.
Thank you.
Hey Nicholas, Jefferson from the Disc Golf World here. Going back to Waco, you said you checked scores. Did you know the scores before the layup on 17, and did you think about running that putt at all?
Yeah, I knew the scores. I had a chance for go for the putt and then birdie 18, but I felt the wind was not good for me in that situation. So I just took my chance to bogey 17 and then go for the birdie on 18. I don't know if it was the right decision. Maybe no, maybe yes. But yeah, it's done now.
Yeah. With a 9th and 2nd place already this season, what are the next steps you have to make in order to take down your first event on tour, you think?
Just continue what I'm doing. I feel like I'm playing very good disc golf at the moment, and as a disc golfer it's very easy now because I don't need to think about my throwing that much. I just execute and know what I can do, know what I can't do, and I feel like there is no shot at least for myself on the course that I can do at the moment. I feel like I'm putting good. My forehand feel is pretty nice, and also backhand hitting the gaps and stuff. So.
Hi, Niklas.
What's up?
Brian with DGN here. A couple questions for you. First one, you said doesn't matter if you get second, doesn't matter if you get 10th place. It's still losing, and it's not first place.
Yep.
Which win in your career so far tasted the sweetest, and which win gave you a feeling that you want to feel again?
I think it was the European Championships in 2021. That was a good one. Fighting against Linus Carlson, my good friend nowadays. That was a very nice feeling, and I want to feel that same feeling in US soon.
I want to ask you kind of how you feel coming down the stretch of those tournaments when you're about to win or you're in the chance to win. Do you try to tell yourself to stay calm? Do you try to tell yourself to stay focused? What emotion or headspace do you try to put yourself in?
Yeah, that's weird for me. I just feel like I'm going with the flow in those moments. And I also feel like I'm playing my best when I need to play good. When I need to like birdie out or something, I'm at my best. So I like those moments a lot.
Well, Niklas, a lot of golf this week, hopefully.
Hopefully, yeah.
Good luck out there.
Thank you, Brian.
And with that, we are going to close things up today. Round 1 starts tomorrow.